Hello and welcome to my Language Paper 1 series. I hope you've been following my videos. So today our aim is to go through Paper 1 question 4 and we're still focusing on the life of pi extract. So in this video, I'm going to guide you through a step-by-step process, show you how I'd approach the question. So I'd like you to have a look at the life of pi extract and have a read of it before we go into this video, because I'm going to give you my own personal opinion as to how I'd approach this paper as an English teacher. So, question 4. So our question is centered around focus this part of your answer on the second part of the source from lines 20 to the end. So we are always given a specific line numbers to focus on. Then we get given a statement. So here it says, a student said, this part of the story where the hyena behaves wildly is funny rather than frightening. So straight away I'm asking myself, what is it about the hyena that makes it funny? Is it actually frightening? Where do I stand in regards to this statement? So our main point or skill that we want to demonstrate is also evaluating this statement. So is it actually funny rather than frightening? So my answer needs to revolve around that. Second part says, the writer suggests that the hyena is actually no serious threat to pi. And again, I have to revisit the extract to pick this apart. So it's usually important, or no, not usually, it's always important to highlight the key points within the statement so that you've got that guideline of how you're going to approach it and you're building up your understanding. So what should we do? In your response, you could look at how the hyena behaves. How does it behave? What does its behavior suggest? Why does it behave in this way? Evaluate how the writer presents the threat of the hyena. So we know that the hyena, if we've read the extract, appears to be a threat to pi. So how is this presented? So the idea of the threat, and of course we need to make references to the text. And then question 4 is a combination of the skills within question 2 and 3. So we can analyze the language that we demonstrated in question 2. We can explore the structure that was mentioned or that we spoke about in question 3. So we bring all of this together in order to show our understanding within question 4. So let's go back to the source. So if we look back, our focus and what we're looking for is mainly around the behavior of the hyena. So rather than it behaving wildly, it's behaving funny rather than behaving in a frightening way. So we're looking for moments where it's behaving in a funny way, which I do agree with. It's not seen as a threat. It is initially, but then this concept changes and it poses no serious threat to pi. So we're going to look for those ideas. And remember, this is a 20 marker. This is a huge part of section A. Half of our marks for section A is worth 40 marks. So question 4 requires priority. It requires a lot of attention from us. So let's go through the extract and then see where we can pick out our points. So if we read through it, and I'm going to scan through it. So here, the behavior, the hyena is mentioned. It did 1, 2, 3, 4 laps onwards till I lost count. Keep it. And the whole time it's making this high-pitched sound, yip, yip, in a high-pitched way. So this is the moment, or this is a moment that we might reference and refer to. Straight away, this shows, if you look at the repetition of this sound and how it's presented, kind of shows the hyena is a form of maybe entertainment. It's not actually a threat. If anything, it's the opposite of a threat. It's rather appeared to be something that's funny at this moment. So we're looking at this moment from line 20 onwards. If we go further down, pi, or the narrator is still seized by fear which is quite interesting. But then it says the beating of its leg against the benches made the whole boat shake, and its claws were loudly clicking on the surface. It was hair-raising enough to see the thing racing my way. Worse still was the fear that it would keep going straight. So it's still coming towards him, so he does feel that sense of fear. Claws were loudly clicking on their surface. The beating of its leg. So what we're seeing its behavior is rather, it's irrational. It seems as though it's obsessed, maybe not in its right senses. So the hyena is in a sense of chaos, disorder. But the narrator feels this sense of fear. I'll come back to this idea of fear. All right. If we go further down, after a number of laps, it stopped short, crouched, directing its gaze downwards to the space below the tarpaulin. It lifted its eyes and rested them upon me. And then it says, I prepared for my end. For nothing, it started running in circles again. So this idea that the narrator feels the sense of fear, maybe expecting an attack, but the hyena doesn't meet those expectations. It says, blank and frank. I think that's important in how he's describing the hyena, how it appears to him. And then it started running in circles again. So it seems like this hyena is just more concerned on running around. It hasn't got a routine. It's disorganized, chaotic in its nature. Let's see how this develops. So now the narrator comes back. When an animal decides to do something it can do for a very long time, all morning the hyena ran in circles going yip, 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 yip. So the repetition again, but this is going on for a long time. And it seems like this is all the hyenas do. So does it pose itself as a threat? I'd say no, definitely doesn't. And it says, every time the hyena paused at the stern bench, my heart jumped. So there's still that sense of fear. It's like when you see an insect or like a spider, you know it's not going to attack you. And it's not vicious, but you still have that sense of fear within. Well, at least I certainly do. Then it says, and as much as I wanted to direct my attention to the horizon, to where my salvation lay, it kept straying back to this maniacal beast. So this beast is a maniac. His attention keeps going back to it. Again, he has this internal fear, but the hyena is not actually presenting itself as something fearful. It's not actually intimidating. Things ended in typical hyena fashion. It stopped at the stern and started producing deep groans interrupted by fits of heavy panting. The hyena is now in a state of discomfort. Maybe it's tired itself out. Yeah, from all the running, racing around, lack of rest. I pushed myself away. Then it says the animal hacked and coughed. So it seems very weak, fragile, taken up by illness. Then it vomited. Abruptly, it vomited. A gush landed behind the zebra. The hyena dropped into what it had just produced. It stayed there, shaking and whining and turning around on itself, exploring the furthest confines of animal anguish. If you imagine the scene, the hyena falls into its vomit. And that in itself is a scene of disgust. Not a pretty sight. It's shaking, whining, so it's not attacking. If anything, it's in its own state of trouble. It's in its own state of discomfort. And yeah, we might even have a sense of sympathy for the hyena. He mentioned exploring the furthest confines of animal anguish. Yep, so we feel this pain and suffering. It did not move from the restricted space for the rest of the day. So now if you think about the hyena, did it edge closer towards the narrator to attack them? No. Is it much of a threat? No. It has been neutralized. It's been sick. It's been doing its own chaotic rounds of movement, lack of cohesion in everything that it's doing. So the hyena is definitely not a threat. to our narrator. So these are my annotations. If I go back, we can develop these with notes here. So the hyena behaves wildly is funny rather than frightening. Is the hyena frightening? Definitely not. Pi finds it frightening to a certain extent, but it doesn't do anything that justifies why it's frightening. It's more funny. And do we find a sense of humor in it? I'd say yeah, definitely. The writer suggests that the hyena is actually no serious threat to Pi. It doesn't attack Pi. It doesn't come closer to him. It doesn't react in a way where it provokes Pi or comes towards him. So it's definitely no serious threat to Pi. So now we've got our ideas. We now need to think about how we're going to turn these ideas into a response. So I've got here what I'm going to is in the next video, I'm going to model an example how to take these ideas, write them up, and show you how I would put together a part of this paragraph for question 4. So I hope you found this video useful. So it's just me going through my thought process in understanding the question. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to actually write the answer, and I'm going to model my own process so that you might benefit from it somewhat. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.